Hi, everybody. It's Christina. Welcome to our Monday live streams. We are talking about mediumship. I am just going to pop over to the group real quick and make sure that everybody can see me live. Give me just a moment. If you are here and you can see the live stream, hey, let me know where you are listening from. Okay, let's see. Let's get this pinned. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Christina Quick. I am also known as a Tarot Biz Mentor online. I also run the ProfitablePsychic.com. It is an online academy for professional psychics, mediums, fortune tellers, tarot readers to learn how to start and grow a profitable psychic reading business. And today we're going to be continuing on in our mediumship series. Hi there. Welcome. Good to see you guys. Thanks so much for coming in. Looks like comments are working, so that is good. Hi, Leah. Good to see you. All right. So last week we started off this series and we talked a lot about what mediumship is. We discussed the certain signs that you may have mediumship abilities. And I'm really curious, did you guys watch that? Hi, Diane. Good to see you. I'm really curious, did you guys watch that other training yet? Do you guys identify as a spirit medium? Is this something that you're kind of working on in your business? Is this something that you just kind of want to do for your own personal reasons? This is something that you maybe want to even work with people on a professional level and start doing mediumship readings. Hi, Kirsten. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. So tell me where you are at in that journey. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been a spirit medium my whole entire life. It wasn't until probably my mid-20s that I really started becoming more comfortable with calling myself a medium and even just really developing those skills. In the very beginning in my life, mediumship was something that was almost unwanted. It really kind of plagued me for a long time. I thought I was going crazy. I would be hearing voices, I'd be seeing things, and it was really just difficult to deal with as a child, as a highly sensitive, empathetic child. And it really, I didn't have anybody supportive really around me in my circle to really help me with that. Okay, so we do have some professionals. Leah's a professional. She does it personally and professionally. Great. Thanks for letting me know that. And so I don't know if anybody can relate to this. And I would love to do a whole training on the different ways that we block ourselves with mediumship, especially because if we have people on the other side, let me know if you can relate to this, is that you may have people on the other side who you don't particularly want to talk to, or you may have fears about who would actually be coming in to speak with you, especially if you had, I say, a parent or a grandparent or an ancestor or a person that has passed on and you didn't have a good relationship with them. And that can kind of keep people away from mediumship for a long time. And I know for myself, that actually kept me away from mediumship because I had an estranged relationship with my father, and he did not pass on good terms with me, and we passed on very, very negative terms. We have since then been able to work through our relationship now that he's on the other side. And I would love to do a training on that too, about how we can heal our ancestral lineage. Sometimes we can't even do that until someone has passed over, because unfortunately, sometimes some people that we have in our ancestral circle, they could be dealing with things like addiction. They could be dealing with, you could be having abandonment wounds with them. There's so many different things, or maybe you are the child of a narcissistic parent, and you dealt with that kind of trauma and abuse for a long time. So I know for me personally, the whole idea of mediumship was something that I always had the ability to utilize. Oh, okay, you're still developing. Well, that's great. This is going to be wonderful. And you can also do tarot card readings and mediumship card readings. I actually have a training on Facebook about how to do that. So, and it's free on Facebook. So just go to Tarot Biz Mentor YouTube, not Facebook. Excuse me. YouTube. It's on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com, type in tarot bizmentor.com, and I think it's called how to do mediumship readings with tarot cards. Just type in Christina Quick, mediumship and tarot. you should be able to find it. And if you can't find it, I will certainly put the link in the description box below after I am done here. Okay, Kirsten says she's been a lifelong medium, although undiagnosed until the last 20 years. I use mediumship skills in shamanic work. Heck yes, you do. And also tarot readings. Yes, definitely. Most definitely. And so for me personally, I wanted to get into mediumship on a professional level, but I had this blockage because I had this person, my father, who I didn't want to connect with. And my biggest fear was that that person would be coming through and I wouldn't be able to block communication with that person, which is totally possible. You can do that. So if you are curious, yes, you can block certain communication with certain spirits. And ultimately, how I view it is that spirits in the 3D, us right now, and physical, will always have dominion over spirits in the ethereal. And that's just the rule of law when it comes to living in this, 3D reality. Ah, I see. Very interesting. I resist labels for what I do. Well, I am actually and yes, definitely, there's always something to learn, and that was something I was going to say too. Is whether you've been doing mediumship or for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, there's always something new to learn. There's always a new practical application when it comes to mediumship. But but labels I feel are helpful when we're figuring out what we will and won't do, especially for our psychic abilities. And labels are particularly helpful when it comes to branding, because labels are like SEOs, like how people find you, how they know that you're even going to be a good fit for them as a practitioner. So labels, as far as figuring out like what you use and how you use it, these are good things to know about how you use your psychic abilities. Unless that's a personal choice. It's like, for me personally, I'm just like, I need to know. I need to know the ins and outs of it. I need to know how it works. And some people don't need to know, and that's okay, and that's totally fine. And some people are perfectly fine with that. And that's a very valid way to go about your psychic abilities. But for me, I tend to be a psychic development teacher, so that's why I am really big on telling people, like, okay, what psychic ability are you using? How's it coming through? That sort of thing. Where is it coming through? That's another thing you'll hear me ask a lot. Where are you feeling it, right? So for me personally, mediumship was something that I always kind of struggled with. So I had this kind of negative association with it, especially in childhood, lacking the support system that I needed. If I had had help, it's interesting how life maybe could have been different. But the help that I had was, not very good help. It was that, I was delusional, or that I was making it up, or that I was something psychologically was wrong with me. And actually, none of those things are true. And and I went through the first beginning parts of my life, the first 20 years of my life, thinking something was wrong with me, when in fact, absolutely nothing was wrong with me. And that's where I agree with you 100%, Michelle, when it comes to labels, because labels can actually be very harmful as well, because they can kind of box you into this thing and think, oh, well, if I relate to this label, well, then, usually it's a stigma that's attached to the label, right? That we're trying to avoid. We're resistant to that stigma. And boy, do mediums have a huge stigma around their psychic abilities, because a lot of people think we're crazy, or we're making it up, or we're schizophrenic, or we're schizoaffective, or, we have any of these sort of delusional, disordered kind of personalities. Yeah, lots of potential roadblocks. And in fact, Kirsten, I would almost say that mediumship is like one of these psychic abilities that people have the most mental blocks around. And so I think what the most important thing is, if you are going to experiment with mediumship and you are going to start developing those mediumship abilities, first and foremost, the thing that we all have to realize is that this is a mindset. It's a lifestyle that we're living, right? And so when we step into the mindset of what we need in order to become efficient, and not just efficient, but like comfortable. Forget efficiency, forget accuracy, forget all that stuff, but just in general, being comfortable enough to invite spirits into our space in order to communicate. It can be very scary, right? Because especially when you're doing mediumship, there's different ideas about this, but one of the things that comes up most in conversation I have with people about mediumship is, what if I'm talking to a demon, or what if I'm talking to a trickster spirit? And this is something that can happen, there's a sort of, when you're a baby medium, there's a sort of naivete that you have that you kind of have to learn the ropes of. And so that's why today we're going to talk about how to protect ourselves before we even try to contact spirits, because the belief that you have that you are safe, that's what's going to keep you safe. Yeah, it might be your rosary, it might be your crucifix, it might be your pentagram, it might be these holy symbols that you have, and some of the ways, that I'm going to talk to you about how to protect your space and safeguard your space. But first and foremost, magic, anything in the spiritual realm, whether it's magic, mediumship, psychic abilities, first and foremost, it's all about how you feel about it, right? It's about how protected you feel about what you're doing, and how safe you feel about what you're doing. And this comes up a lot too sometimes, is especially when I have people that are recovering from like institutionalized religion. They're thinking, well, am I going to go to hell for this? Am I going against whatever God's word in order to communicate with spirits? Because very, very clearly necromancy is listed as one of those forbidden things. And I'm not here to really debate about that. I mean, I have my own personal beliefs. I feel personally that mediumship is one of our most natural, innate human instincts and rights that we have. It's almost as important as agriculture. It's almost as important as tribal living. Mediumship is how we even knew the seasons. Mediumship is how we knew when to plant things, because we would listen to and we would watch with the spirits of nature, right? The spirits of the sky. And that's what mediumship is. And a lot of what I had covered last week was that mediumship is in itself an animistic tradition. It's the idea that people, places, things, whether it's a person on the other side, whether it's a tarot deck or an oracle card deck in this case, whether it is a crystal, okay, that these things have spirits, they have sentience, they have energies that can be manipulated, they can be used in a cooperative way to protect something, or to bless something, or something along those lines. Mediumship and magic are very, very much intertwined. There's really not much distinction between the two until you start talking about, like gods and goddesses and things like that, summoning angels and working with angels and spirit guides and stuff like that. So that's where we kind of get into the magic aspect of it. Yeah. Oh, you heard a lot of awful energy and voices. I also did as well. And I think that it's like low vibe spirits can kind of pick up that, because low vibe spirits, what they really feed off of is chaos and sadness and depression and anger and rage and things like that. So the more that they the more a low vibe spirit can confuse and anger someone, the more they get to feed off of that. So I do feel like low vibe spirits can target highly sensitive children in that way in order to feed off of that. Yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, so Michelle, absolutely. And it's like one of those double-ended swords. Like no matter what you do, it's like they're helpful, but they're only helpful to an extent, you know? And so I completely agree with you. Like labels are nice where it's like, okay, I can understand what I'm doing and I can understand how to market myself, and using labels as far as like a marketing strategy. Because first and foremost, I'm a marketing mentor, magical mentor, and psychic development mentor second, but using it for that purpose. But then like, when we start using labels, it kind of like takes the magic out of it, and it kind of like boxes us in, right? Hey, Paula. Good to see you. I'm totally comfortable with my level of knowing things and sharing them if it feels right. But when it feels as if another entity is invading my head or thoughts, I freak out. Difference between mediumship and channeling. So mediumship is just like in general how you observe and how you interact with spirits, and channeling is one way that you might interact with spirits. And there's different ways to do channeling. So we'll do another video where it's like different ways to get into the zone, as I call it. You can do like trance mediumship, you can do channeling. So there's two different kinds of channeling. There's channeling where you are allowing, this is kind of like the 1910, 1920s kind of view of those old, spirit mediumship sessions where you'd have like that stuff coming out of their mouth, the phantasma, something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but and you like this idea of like their eyes going all white and they're becoming possessed and their voice is speaking through them. So there's that kind of idea, and I use movie examples because it's like, it's one of the best ways that we have to like see something visually, but it's not exactly like that. But there is channeling in which you can actually use your body as spirit possession. You can use your body as a vessel. You can invite that spirit to. This is very, very common over in like Thailand and Vietnam and a lot of the Asian indigenous traditions. They do a form of spirit possession, and it's really, really cool where they invite spirits to inhabit their body, and they actually like let the spirit express themselves through their body. That could be lighting up a cigarette or a cigar. That could be eating a meal. That could be drinking a shot of whiskey. That could be doing a dance or something like that person was known for, right? And so that's one way you can do spirit possession and channeling. The other type of channeling, which is more what I do and what most people are really familiar with, would be like verbal channeling, where you're hearing you're having a conversation with the person, and it just depends. And we'll do more trainings on this, like where basically you want to imagine your aura, right? And basically where you're hearing the voices at what location, it can kind of tell you what kind of spirit you're dealing with. So for example, up here, these tend to be non-corporeal spirits that never had a physical form. These are things like angels, spirit guides. These could be things like orishas, gods and goddesses, kind of depending on how you view it. And then from here, this is like, for me, immediate ancestors or spirit guides that did have a physical body at one point that you possibly knew them. And then if I'm hearing them back behind me, from back behind my shoulders, and more of like coming at me this way, I can usually estimate that is a long-term ancestor. That's an ancestor. And what I'm talking about is like hearing in which direction the voices are coming, which side of my ears I'm hearing it. And if it's like, okay, so I imagine my aura, and depending on where in the aura I'm hearing it, to kind of depicts like who I'm speaking with, what kind of entity I'm speaking with. If I'm speaking with a high vibrational spirit, it usually comes through my crown. So this is like angels, spirit guides, extended masters, gods and goddesses that will come in through my crown. But if I am dealing with, say, ancestors or people who had a physical body, a lot of the times it'll come like they're back standing behind me and speaking or whispering into my ear. Okay. Ectoplasm. Thank you, Kara. You would know. You would know. Okay. Yes. Kirsten says, true. Mediumship is probably how we can contact the healed elder spirits. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Ectoplasm. In shamanism, we often merge with their helping spirits for work. Yes. And we're going to talk about that too. I didn't realize this until recent studies in Nordic atomism, but the word as magic is a big deal from our ancient Northern European ancestors. That is really, really cool. I love that. Okay, I think I am caught up on comments. All right. So, yes, different ways to utilize mediumship. We'll do a training on that, and different ways to figure out like where in your aura they're talking to you, and everybody's different. Everybody's going to have their own mediumship map. Hi, Melina, good to see you. And that's just because I'm hearing it and seeing it a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that you will. And you can also train yourself to interpret things in a new way. So even if you don't use a mediumship map like I do, you can certainly create one, and you can start programming how you talk to spirits. Say, no, talk to me here, right? It's about setting boundaries. So So first and foremost, it's a mindset. And the first mindset piece that you have is that you have to realize that you are safe. There's nothing that can hurt you. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't believe that people can't form spirit attachments. It doesn't mean that I don't feel that low vibe spirits can attach to people. It doesn't mean that you can't pick up psychic parasites. It doesn't mean any of that kind of stuff. As long as you are doing what I'm going to be sharing with you today and maintaining your energy, your aura, working on your mental health, getting the help that you need, those are the most important things. The magic is always secondary, the practical is always first, right? So if you are going to get into mediumship, I would say the very first place that you need to ask yourself is, what is my intention with this? Is my intention with this to get an ego boost and to become a powerful medium and talk to the dead? Or is it my intention to help people heal, right? So as long as you are coming from it with the intention, not just because you're going to be profiting from it, doesn't mean that, oh, I'm just going to become a psychic medium because I'll make a lot of money doing it. Because you will find that you will attract a lot of negative vibe spirits. You have to understand that your energy is what is going to be attracted to your energy. So if you have a lower vibe energy, guess what? Low vibe spirits are going to be attracted to you. They're going to come to you like a moth through a flame, right? But if you have a high vibe mindset, meaning that it's more selfless and it's more about helping people, and the money is just a really great bonus part of that. And by the way, if you care about people and you really hone your skills, whether you're right or wrong, people are still going to look for a medium that actually cares. How many of you have been to mediums before that they're just doing it just to do it, that they just don't actually care? It's a bedside manner. And when you have that bedside manner, it doesn't matter if you're wrong. People want that bedside manner. They want that positive energy when they come into a spirit mediumship reading. Okay. So just like your clients are going to be looking for something like that, the spirits out there who are looking for people to help will also be attracted to you because you have the right mindset going in. You have the right intentions. You have the right morals, the right ethics, the right beliefs about it. That's good to know that people actually look for people who care. I believe that to be 100% true. I believe that to be 1,000% true. So having a mindset that, okay, I'm going in here to help people and I'm not here to just profit off of this, though profit could be definitely a big part of it, that's not the main intention. And the main intention is, I'm trying to develop myself as a person. I'm trying to overcome my own personal fears of mediumship, and I want to help people while I'm doing it. Okay, those are good reasons to look into and start working on your mediumship abilities. The second mindset thing that you have to focus on is you have to believe 1,000% that you are safe, that nothing that is negative or low vibe is going to be able to attach to you for a long period of time. And this is really about boundaries, right? If you have any belief that you're unsafe doing what you're doing, then unfortunately that provides a vulnerability where negative spirits can come in. So it's almost kind of like even if you don't believe it, you have to mentally brainwash yourself into believing that you're safe. And when you do that, you will be safe. I've been a psychic medium I'm 36 now. So I've been a psychic medium for almost 40 years, my whole life. And the only times that I have ever had something negative that happened around me that stuck with me was when I was untrained. I had no boundaries. I believed I was unsafe. And I didn't have a spirit team that I was working with to protect me before I even ventured into the astral plane. Now, if you go into the astral, which is basically how we communicate with spirits, it's kind of like shamanic journeying. Okay. It's astral traveling, kind of a similar situation, similar thing, just a different kind of tradition way of wording it, and sometimes a little bit of a different concept there. But when you go to start astral traveling, when you go to start meeting spirits, you can either have spirits, one, come to you, which is how most people think about it, or you can actually go to the spirits. Okay. So this is a little bit more of an advanced way to kind of look at it. But if you go in and you say, okay, I'm going to go to the spirits, that way I can leave wherever I want, whenever I want, or this is me, I don't do any type of ghost hunting in my house, because if I do, I know it's going to stir that energy up. So I don't do any type of invocation to inviting spirits to my house unless they are going to be protective spirits. No randos, no rando spirits here. Okay. Because you don't want your property, your office, wherever you do a lot of your communing, where you have the spirits coming into you, they can tend, it creates a portal. It creates a vortex of energy, which becomes really, really, really interesting to other spirits that are passing by. Okay. So one of the ways that you can do this, and don't worry, we will do a training on this. I will do a whole training on this for you guys about how to set up a mediumship office in the astral plane. Here it goes though. Here's the basics. So a lot of you are clairvoyant. A lot of you have the ability to remote view into shamanic journey, into astral journey. And so what you want to do is, before you go to make any connection with the spirit, you want to close your eyes and you want to visualize yourself leaving your body, going outside of your space, and then in your mind's, your psychic eye, with your physical eyes closed, but in your psychic eye, your third eye, what you want to do is envision like an office space. And then you want to envision a door leading to that office space. And when you open the door and you walk through the door, that is your anchor that says, okay, I am here in this space now. Then you can say, okay, spirits may come to me in my astral office. Okay. And so that's a way that you can meet with spirits on your terms without inviting them to your physical reality. Do you guys like that? So that was one of the first ways that I really learned how to communicate effectively with spirits in a way where I was in control. So if I was, say, doing a mediumship reading for someone and they had a strange relationship with, say, their mom or their grandmother or their aunt or something, and their mom or grandmother was coming in, and I was like, she's real. Sometimes this will happen to be like, okay, I'm in this space and I'm in my astral office. I'm connecting with the spirit. I'm then visualizing myself sitting in my astral office, and I'm talking to this person or spirit on the other side. And sometimes they'll be real chatty and like waiting for waiting to get a word in edgewise so I can ask them questions. And they'll be like, yeah, that's them. And then sometimes I've even had it where in mediumship readings that I've done with people where the reading takes a kind of like a dark turn. Like the spirit on the other side starts yelling or gets upset or something like that, and I have to disconnect. And so that's when I just visualize myself getting up from my office, opening up my astral office, opening the door and walking out, and that's where I sever that connection. It's sort of like a cord cutting ritual without visualizing the cords, but you're creating an astral office instead of creating an etheric cord that's actually coming to your physical reality. Love all this. Spot on for me. Good. I'm so glad. I'm saving this for my videos, saving this video for my files for future reference. Thank you so much. Good. I'm glad that this is helping you guys. So first of all, you need to understand that you are safe and things can only get to you in very extreme, rare cases. You should not be messing around with any type of demonic possession. You should not be messing around with any locations that have known demonic entities. You should not be invocating demons or any type of low vibrational spirit until you have a really good handle on your mediumship abilities. Because if you don't, they can bamboozle you. And that's how you pick up parasites, psychic parasites. That's how you pick up negative low vibe spirits that follow you home. That's how you pick up trickster energy and things like that, because you're just not, you don't have the experience yet. It's almost kind of like the spirits will try to scam you. You know what I mean? Hey, I have a problem with getting really fatigued and tired when spirits are around, especially after readings. What do you do for that? Oh, absolutely, Joby. That's actually a really common thing, and what it means is that you are probably a physical medium, meaning that a lot of the mediumship of information that you receive is coming through your physical body. So unfortunately, if you are a physical medium, it just means that you have a limited amount of physical energy that you can devote towards this. So if I was you, I would charge a lot of money and I would take lots of breaks and don't take on a whole bunch of clients. So if you are a physical medium, then that means it takes physical energy for you to do the mediumship reading. And so hopefully you are compensated for that. And it's really about self-care. And then also learning different ways to interpret mediumship abilities, mediumship information. So tell me a little bit, Joby, a little bit about how you receive that information. And it's kind of like an exercise. If you did mediumship all day, every day, your mediumship muscles would get really, really strong. And then you would be able to, it's like a stamina thing. But say we're only doing mediumship once a month or once a blue moon or something like that, then we're not really working on that muscle in a really consistent way. And so that's why it can possibly feel like, oh, this is hard, because you just don't have that stamina created yet. You just crying, oh, that's wonderful. So a lot of what you do is mental. So it's probably not a physical tiredness, it's probably a mental tiredness, which I think is a problem that pretty much all psychics have. I would say that that's completely normal. And I would just say the best thing that we can do for that, in my opinion, is to raise our prices, reduce the amount of people that we take, and make sure that we're getting ample rest in between there. Migraines, yeah, that's very, very common. You're using a lot of mental energy. Also, your crown chakra could be getting overstimulated, things like that. Do you wear a scarf, Joby, when you do scrying? Do you wear a scarf or a head covering? If you don't, that could be something that you might look into, is getting some kind of scarf or not a turban, or a turban that could work. What are they called, ladies? Ladies and gentlemen, that they're kind of like headscarves, but they're not turbans, but they're something or something like that. But they're spiritual. They're like a religious type of thing. You used to. Okay. Okay. So try to cover your crown and see if that does anything for you. A veil. Yes, a veil of some sort. If you are starting out and exploring mediumship, what's a great method to develop that gift? So, Erica, that's a really great question. And on my last live stream, I talked about dream work being one of the best entry points to working on mediumship that could possibly exist. So what I would recommend to you is every night before you go to bed is to start asking helpful spirits to come visit you in your dreams and to communicate with you in your dreams. Start a dream journal, start writing down every morning, even though you don't think you had a mediumship dream. Sometimes dreams are mediumship dreams, but they are stories that people on the other side tell us. They're kind of like euphemisms, or they're like metaphors, right? So if you set the intention that maybe that night you don't have an actual dream, that you actually talk to someone on the other side, that you can work up to that. That will eventually come. But maybe you have a dream about NASCAR and your grandfather who passed was a NASCAR fan. That is still, you're still having a mediumship experience. Okay, yes. So lucid dreams, that's a good way to do it. And just asking them. And then what you can do is start, I would hopefully assume you have some kind of daily spiritual ritual where you're going to an altar, or you're sitting down in meditation, or you're doing a gratitude journal, and say, I'm available for messages at this time. So make office hours with spirits and say, okay, I am available at this time. Get a piece of paper, get a pen out, and just start writing, and just start automatic writing what comes through. It could be pictures, it could be symbols, it could be numbers, it could be words, it could be so many song lyrics, it could be so many different things. But automatic writing, when you're in a liminal space, when you're at your altar, or you're at your ancestor altar or something like that, and say, I'm open for business, I'm open for messages. And so then you can spend 20 minutes and then do your automatic writing and then doing your dream work. Those two entry points are very safe, as far as like, you're not going to encounter any negative spirits or anything like that. Not while you're doing very simple exercises like that. Yeah. So Kirsten says, do you do any types of magic or clearing after you've done mediumship clients for the day? So yes. Oh, you're welcome. So you do meditations. Okay. So that's good. Yeah. So typically what I do is I do the old vacuum method, which is basically where At the end of the day, what I'll do is I will close my eyes and I will envision a ball of white light that is going around my feet. It's circling around my legs and my knees and my hips, and it's going around my whole entire aura. And as it's doing that, it's like a magnet and it's attracting any um, residual energy, any types of soul pieces I may have picked up along the way, any psychic parasites I may have picked up along the way. And what I do is I just imagine that this white ball of light of good energy, positive energy, is sucking up all of this, any types of like little spots or little colors that are off, like dark oranges, rust, browns, dark grays. Those are kind of, negative colors in that typically in an auric field, you're looking for bright, vibrant colors. Anything kind of dark or dim or off color, like like a ugly green or an ugly orange or something like that. Think 70s oranges and greens. So that's what I do for that. And then I'll just simply say, the cords are cut. The cords are cut. Okay. So that's what I do. This white light vacuum, that's what I do. And you can also call upon, say, for example, Archangel Michael is a good one to call upon. If you have a Christian background or if you have, an Abrahamic background at all, whether you're Jewish, Muslim, Christian, go to whatever spirit beings are part of your tradition or your religion or your culture. That's who you really want to go to and call them in and say, hey, if I missed anything, please stand beside me. Please walk beside me. Okay. So that's in a nutshell how to kind of begin mediumship and kind of how to tiptoe in it. But I really want to talk about some ways that you can actually protect yourself. All right. So the very first way, the one first way that every single person in this room should be doing is setting up an ancestor altar. An ancestor altar doesn't have to be some big thing. It can simply be a little box. It could be just a little corner of your living room. It could be anything. It could just be like, for me, for example, I'll show you guys my ancestor altar at some point. Hi, Teresa. Good to see you. And what I have an old vintage grandfather clock that has like glass shelves in it. That is my ancestor altar. So that's where I keep. It's a house. It's like a spirit vessel for your ancestors. Your ancestors are always going to be your strongest protectors. And I know if you had a negative relationship with your mom or your dad, we just had Mother's Day. So I know that was very complicated for a lot of people. Regardless, even if you are adopted, doesn't matter. There are people on the other side that are related to you, whether you know them or not, that want the best for you, that are working in cooperation with the universe, working to bring balance and restore balance and harmony to your life. And that's how things start getting better. That's how we get the job we want. That's how we start manifesting our life purpose. That's how we start making 100K a year and things like that, right? All of those good things. So setting up an ancestor altar is one of the very first things that you need to do. And that could be as simple as, like I said, setting up a box or putting up a picture of someone, or coming up with something that is sympathetic magic. Like you could set up a crystal that could represent your ancestor altar. But what it is, it doesn't matter if it's a giant altar or one little item. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're dedicating a spirit vessel to your helpful spirits, your spirit helpers, which are, yes, there will be a replay. Yes, there certainly will be. And you can find that in the pin section, and it will be on YouTube, Skylar, as well. Yes, I understand that. As a black sheep, it's been difficult to develop a useful link to helpful ancestors. I keep trying, though. I do have an altar. Yes, I understand that a lot, Cara. I do. And if you have a block around, ancestor altars, and you're not quite ready, because trust me, I get it. I get not being quite ready. But the other alternative would be to be setting up a spirit helper. So here she is. This is Nui, Nuit, Nui. So this is one of the very first spirit helpers that I ever created. So in magic, you have what's called a thought form entity. And it is an entity that you create in the astral realm. So it could be like an animal that you work with. It could be like a spirit totem, or it could be an animal totem. It could be a spirit, an animal helper. It could be a tree. It could be a flower. It could be a plant. It could be whatever. But this is Nui, and she was one of my very, very first spirit helpers that I ever created. She's a Black Panther. And I would, I got this little carving. I'll show you guys a little bit closer, but it's a little obsidian um, black cat. Okay. And so this is a talisman of sorts that I have created and dedicated to being a spirit vessel with Nui. And Nui is always on my desk. She's always, you can carry this in a mojo bag, a gree bag, you could a medicine bag. You can put this in a bottle of some sort, okay, like make a terrarium out of it or something. You can put this on your altar. You can carry it with you. It goes with me several places. It's a protective talisman. But what it is Nui is a Black Panther that first came to me when I first started doing astral traveling. And when I would astral travel, I would have the vision of this Black Panther that would be by my side. And whenever I would be going like to astral places or whatever I would be connecting with a spirit to do psychic mediumship connection with, I would ask Nui, please go first, scout it out, and make sure it's okay. And in my mind's eye, I would envision her becoming invisible, like becoming like she would become invisible. And then I would watch her go in front of me. And then I would wait a few moments and then she would come back. And this is all happening in my mind's eye, okay? She would come back and she would tell me, give me a report of what I was about to enter. So this is especially helpful when you're doing like mediumship with situations where you're not sure there could be negativity there, or you're connecting with a spirit that their relationship was complicated with the person that you're reading for, and you're not sure how that's going to really work out. So Nui is one of my very first spirit helpers that would come to me, and she would basically be my left hand man, my left hand spirit helper, and she would help me go basically scout undetected. And sometimes also I would also visualize that I would merge into her, and that merging is shadow cat. So that's a different entity. When I am merged, and I would basically close my eyes and imagine myself and Nui coming together and me kind of melting into her and becoming a new entity called shadow cat. And then I would be able to control the vessel of Nui, meaning that I could make myself invisible or be under her cloak of invisibility and go into a spirit situation and be able to do it completely cloaked so that I was undetectable, right? Does this make sense with people? I know this is weird. And I know that just talking about this kind of stuff is bizarre, but this is how I work. And this is the way that I have personally found to feel the most safe and feel the most guarded. Yeah, Kirsten says, I concurrently have helpful ancient ancestors while having strained relationships with distant relatives. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So Kara says, I have tons of spirit allies that help me daily and have a very close relationships with. I just got the idea to ask them how to connect better to my human ancestors. Thanks. Oh, you're welcome. Makes total sense. Okay, good. So you can create a spirit helper. Okay, not weird. Great info. Okay, good. Okay. I'm always like, am I getting on the weird side again? I don't know. Because I'm super weird, and you guys probably only know about 10% of my weirdness. So I'm really excited to talk more about psychic development and mediumship so you guys can learn more about how I actually work and different ways to really protect yourself. I'm so glad you're talking about merging with your black cat. So yeah, so there's that. And you can also merge with your spirits. And that's like a shamanic term. And actually Kirsten and Marissa, they have a whole shamanic academy that I actually learned through them too. So if you're interested in learning more about that, which is going to be a really long time before I start talking about shamanism and things like that, But if you want to learn more about that in the meantime, go check out the Shamanic Earth Medicine Patreon by Kirsten and Marissa. Yep. There will be a replay. How do I use ancestors? So you have to understand that your parents are, or your grandparents or your immediate ancestors are not the only ancestors that you have. You have 1.2, 1.5 million years worth of ancestors that love you and want to see you succeed. So if you cannot speak to your immediate ancestors, you can speak to your primordial mother, you can speak to your primordial father. And if you have a religion or you have a tradition, like for like some like Yemaya is one of the Orishas that is like the primordial mother in the African tradition. Nordic traditions, Frigga is the primordial mother. So or a Virgin Mary could be your primordial mother. Okay. So if you don't have ancestors, that immediate ancestors that you are connecting with, then you can certainly use your spiritual ancestors. You can use your God ancestors, which could be like godparents that you've had, people that have been placed into your life that maybe aren't necessarily blood related, but were guardians over you. And that kind of bleeds into spirit guides and spirit guardians. It's a little bit of a different thing, but understand that you have lineages, hundreds of generations of people whose love has culminated into your existence. And so that very thing right there could simply be what you're grateful for. And that little thread of knowing that these people, that thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people have struggled across time and space and against war and famine and acts of God, floods, and things like that, and they have still persisted, and here you are today. So if nothing else, you can I think get into the vibration of so much love has created who I am, even if I didn't necessarily feel that love from my immediate ancestors. There's so many more ancestors out there, and one of the best ways, in my opinion, to start doing that is to go on like 23andMe, get your blood tested, see who you're. Even if you don't have ancestors as people, you have a heritage. You belong to a culture of people. So there's that too. You can also connect with the culture that you come from, especially in America, especially in Europe, where we have this idea of colonialism, where in Manifest Destiny, where our ancestors have traveled across seas to start new lives. A lot of us, especially in America, United States of America, are culture orphans. We are indigenous orphans that have been left in this place, disconnected from our original indigenous people, wherever that came from. And especially if you're an American or you're European, chances are you are a big melting pot of many different cultures and people. So if you can't tap into the people, you can at least tap into your culture. And that is one of the best ways to practice magic, in my opinion, and get the most out of your magic, is when you start practicing magic that your DNA comes from, right? Because there's a whole, and not just an ancestral lineage of people, but an ancestral lineage of traditions and myths and cultures and gods and goddesses that are all still your ancestors, Thank you, Kirsten. I connected with a lot of Native Americans. I had no idea who Tecumseh was. Oh, okay. So yes, and that's also very true too, that if you don't have people on the other side that are going to step forward and claim you, you will have spiritual teachers that will, because they will recognize your potential. They will recognize what you're trying to do. It all comes back to that first belief of, what are my intentions, right? What are my intentions? What are my morals? What are my beliefs? Why am I doing this? And you can become adopted by spiritual teachers that can become an ancestor of some sort to you, a spiritual ancestor, or like a godfather or a godmother type of situation, where maybe they're not blood, but they have claimed you, right? They have claimed protection over you, right? So working with spirit helpers, working with your ancestors, that's the first place that I would start. Work with your, yeah, right. And so work with your spirit allies. If you don't have spirit allies, ask a spirit ally to come to you. You can do this. You have thousands of spirit allies. You have millions of spirit allies. Every single type of animal, every single type of rock, every single type of crystal, every single type of tree, every single type of natural element has a spirit within it. They all have a wisdom or a medicine to teach us. So while, yes, I may work with Nui, who's a black jaguar or a black panther, I have hundreds or thousands of spirit helpers out there that are more than willing to help and work with me. And you could go through one by one, and you can almost interview spirit helpers and be like, okay, what have you got to offer? How can you help me? And then you can decide, do I want to work with this spirit helper or do I not? And also, I will say this, spirit helpers are never upset that you stop working with them, especially if they are high vibrational beings. It's not like, now there's a difference between upkeep and maintenance and working with a spirit. Now, if I just knocked this vessel on the floor and it got covered in dog hair and dust and Cheeto dust and who knows what else, yeah, my spirit helper is going to be a little ticked off, and chances are that they're not going to return to that vessel, and my connection with that spirit helper is going to wane. However, if I don't work with Nui for a long time, it's no big deal. They're not concerned about that. I just make sure I clean her. I put her in a space where she can see me. That's the most important thing, I think, is if you do create a vessel for your spirit helpers. Even crystal skulls can be spirit helpers. If you have a collection of crystal skulls, these can also be spirit helpers. You can create a thought form spirit helper in each of one of these things. And it can help you. So you can have like, okay, this one is for protection. This one is to repel negative vibes. This one is to cleanse the energy. You know what I'm saying? So you can have many spirit helpers. There is no such thing as having too many spirit helpers, I don't think. Just making sure that you are not neglecting them, making sure that you are not disrespecting their vessel, I think, is the most important thing. They respect free will, absolutely. And time doesn't really exist for them in the same way that it exists for us. We live in this linear time. And so, we experience reality where moments have passed where maybe we haven't connected with them. But honestly, if they're not in their vessel waiting to be used, they're out doing something else. They have their own life. They have their own free will as well. So it's one of those things where they're not missing out on anything. You're not missing out. Yes. So Santa Muerte is actually Santa Muerte is actually a cultural goddess, or what would you call it? Venerated spirit, an extended master that culturally. So I grew up in the Southwest in Arizona, and so Santa Muerte and Santira and Mexican folk magic and beliefs, and also Native American, because I grew up right across the lake from the Chemehuevi Indian Nation. And so I actually grew up around that. And the town where I grew up was actually very, very Catholic as well. So there was murals of Santa Muerte, there was, altars and things like that. You go to any of the Mexican Catholic churches and you would see Santa Muerte set up there and everything like that. So yes, absolutely. Very, very powerful. And not only are spirit helpers like your animal totems, your crystals and things like that, but they're also your protective patron. So like your gods and goddesses, any venerated spirits, like for example, in this group, we do a lot of work with Saint Expedite. And a lot of the other saints, you can work with saints, you can work with Saint Judith, you can work with Saint Anthony, you can work with so many different types. Saint Francis of Assisi. There's many, many, many different saints, and it just kind of depends on like, and that's another part of like really getting into your ancestral magic as well, because especially if you have, say, Mexican heritage and you really like working with Santa Muerte and she has come to you, excuse me, then you have a blood magic tie to her, which is even more powerful than, say, just as someone who just happens to work with Santa Muerte. So it's one of those things, It's a really interesting conversation. So the next thing you can do is erecting awards. So this will be the last thing we talk about because we're about at an hour in, and I don't want to go over an hour because I know It's Monday. Everybody's got something to do, right? And we'll come back next Monday and we'll talk. But the last thing is, yeah, the nice thing about saints is that they have a pagan behind them, and the same if you are part of a hoodoo tradition, right? They have an Orisha behind them as well. And so saints are a really great way that people across time and space have encoded ancient magical ancient gods and goddesses into the saints and have encoded that information. So yeah, Saint Gemma, protector and master dragon negative spirit slayer. Love that. Love that. She is fierce. Yeah, so I work with a dragon named Odaya. She is a crystalline air dragon. So she does a lot of my over, like when I'm remote viewing and I'm looking over a location, I send Odaya out and she goes out and she goes around and flies around. She's how I look at a very big space in a short amount of time. I also work with Storm Shadow, or not Storm Shadow. That's GI Joes. Ooh. Storm Chasers. I was just talking about GI Joes with my husband the other day. Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes and Reptile and stuff like that. So, anyways, Storm Chaser. Okay. Storm Dancer. It just depends on his name. He has a lot of different names, but he's general. I call him General because he's a masculine male unicorn that's kind of like shadow colored, kind of like an iridescent kind of gray color. And I just call him General. He has like this kind of gruff voice. And what he does is he's like my consultant. So a lot of the times I will talk to him and he will give me advice, okay, about how to address a certain situation. I also have Soft Wind. Soft Wind is a Pegasus, is a light cream, buttercream colored Pegasus that kind of has like an iridescent rainbow energy to her. And if I need to get to a space that's very far away, say for example, I'm doing a mediumship reading for someone in Australia or something like that, I will, in my mind's eye, call Soft Wind, get on Soft Wind's back, and we will fly out to that space. I also use her, particularly when I'm going up to the more higher dimensional spaces, when I'm going to realms of angels, when I'm going to realms of like spirit guides and things like that, where I have this perception of above, right? Because our cosmology, we have a spiritual cosmology. Mediums have a spiritual cosmology. Meaning, yes, we have like there's a map of the earth where there's countries and things like that. A spirit medium has an understanding, their own map of the spirit world and how we get to certain places. So the higher up places are the higher level places. And that's not necessarily true. It's just a cosmology that I have created in order to know my way around the spirit space. And this can be very, very easily influenced by your cultural, spiritual beliefs. If you believe in heaven and hell, well, it's very simple, up and down. But for example, a lot of Native American spirituality and a lot of South American spirituality is based on the directions. So north, south, east, and west, they pertain to certain different types of dimensions of existence, or where we might find different kinds of spirits. So the next thing is to erect wards. And one of my very favorite ways to erect wards is by utilizing quartz. So quartz is kind of like your Swiss Army knife when it comes to gemstones and crystals. Quartz is pretty much good for everything. It's a very good protector. You can get garden quartz to put in your yard. So you want to think about like protecting your whole space. So whether you live in an apartment, you can protect your apartment. Whether you live in a house, you can go walk around your perimeter. You can put salt down. You can put crystals, garden quartz down. This is just like cheap Arkansas quartz that you can find just bulk. Oh, I'm out of focus. But anyways, so you can find quartz. You can also utilize things like this is tourmaline and hematite. So hematite's really good at reflecting. Any type of reflective type of crystal is going to be really good at reflecting negativity. Also, any type of dark colored crystal This is tourmaline. And so if I have a pendulum that I'm using for spirit mediumship, or I have a deck that I'm using for spirit mediumship, or I could simply put Nui on here and create these little portals. They're little vortexes of protective energy. So you can, you can set these up around your house. You can put just bowls of salt on them. You can, those Himalayan salt lamps are really good. If you have some of those, put those up in your house. Making sure that you have your ancestor altar up, making sure that you have at least one spirit helper. You can also, just depends on your tradition, you can also get railroad spikes or any type of old type of metal, pin those, do 4 railroad spikes at each corner, each direction corner. So at the north corner, west corner, east corner, south corner. You can also set up statues. So like gnomes are really good. Tree spirits are really good. Like a little statue of a tree. Buddha statues are also really good. I've also seen a lot of oh, what's the feminine Buddha? What's her, Kuan Yin? Kuan Yin, I think her name is. She's also a really good one. Also, working with fairies and land spirits is a great way to protect your physical space. So you don't have to own your own home or anything like that to work with land spirits, but you're working Kuan Yin. Thank you. And so working with the fairies is a really good way. And I'm talking about positive nature spirits. I'm not talking, maybe I shouldn't say fairies because there's different kinds of fairies. Okay. But land spirits, positive helping land spirits. So just like you have spirit helpers that will go with you in the astral realm, you also have spirit helpers that will help you safeguard your house. So you could put, I have, those garden owls that you can get, that you stick in your garden to keep the crows away and things, like keep birds and pests away and stuff like that. So statues of owls are really good. Gargoyles are also really good. Dragons, statues of dragons, statues of gnomes. What else? What else? Lions are also really good. So and it's kind of like using this kind of idea where it's a spirit vessel, but putting it on the outside of your house. Okay. You can also plant protective flowers. So you can plant, like spelled differently, different religions. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yes. I think most of us know her as Huan Yin, but yes, definitely. There's going to be different spellings and different pronunciations for sure. So thank you, because that's really important. So depending on, what culture tradition you kind of look at it, maybe call it something a little bit different. So that's important too when you're thinking about working with entities. You want to make sure that you're going through the right tradition to get the right outcome. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all collective belief, and I think also when we venerate certain spirits, we feed them. So another thing too, just making friends with the wildlife in your area is also a really good way to protect your area. I know that sounds kind of simple, but creating butterfly gardens, setting up like compost where you're putting your scraps of food outside for the animals, things like that. What all that does is it appeases and builds positive karma with your land spirits. And I will tell you something, between your ancestors, your angels, your gods and your goddesses, your spirit helpers, and your land spirits, if you have all of those things going, then tell you what, nothing will get into your aura. You will have a fortress around your aura where negative things, they just can't get in. And ever since I've been doing this, which has probably been about 12 years now, I've not had, I mean, okay, I'm knocking on wood, but I have not had any negative experiences whatsoever. So I firmly, firmly believe that as long as we have these things in place, then they can do a lot of the heavy lifting. Every once in a while, you might want to do like a cleansing candle on you. Every once in a while, you might want to do a cleansing bath, salt baths, Epsom salt baths with some like herbs like hyssop or peppermint or something like that, or lavender. Those are all really good. If you need a quick aura cleansing, if you're feeling really heavy and tired, Joby, an Epsom salt bath might actually help you rejuvenate you if you have a lot of mental mediumship going on and physical, things kind of happening from that. Okay. I would love to open it up to questions because I'll give you guys, a couple of minutes. Mediterranean salts. Yes, yes. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. I have like all types of different salts in my bath, and I love it. Love it. And if you don't have a bath, you can use salt scrub. And that's so easy. You can do sugar scrubs too. It's so easy. Just get some olive oil, mix in like get a cup of olive oil, get a cup of salt or sugar, and you can use that. And you don't even have to you have a bath. You can just, do that. And then also another way I do cleansing too in the morning, how I get ready is when I'm showering, I'm envisioning the water kind of rinsing away any dark spots. And I'm kind of imagining as the water's coming down, it's like, okay, I'll imagine red water, orange water, yellow water, green water, blue water, purple water, that kind of stuff. So how can you get started on mediumship? So I already have quite a few video trainings on that. So I would definitely check out my YouTube videos or my podcast episodes on that. Same thing, it's just different platform. And go back and watch the videos because this is a series that we're running. And how can I get started on mediumship? Well, I think I answered that today. So you'll have to come back and watch the whole video and watch the past video, but that will give you some really good insight. Oh, you're only has a shower and I have all these salts. Okay, just get some olive oil or jojoba or whatever kind of oil that you like, and put some of your salts in it and make kind of like a paste where it kind of you want it kind of thick. You don't want it too thin where you don't want to scratch yourself with the salt. The salt it's perfect when the salt begins to disintegrate and to melt into your skin. And so that way you can get that really soft exfoliation. Yeah. And just imagining the salt and speaking to the salt, please cleanse me. That's what mediumship is. Remember, we're talking to things. Crystal, please, I'm talking to the spirit contained within this crystal. Please do this. That's what thought form magic is. So remember to talk to your crystals, everybody. Talk to your salts, talk to your gods and goddesses, talk out loud, and eventually things will start talking back to you. No joke. All right. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Have a great week. I will see you guys next Monday. And next Monday, we will be continuing on in the conversation about mediumship. If you have any questions about mediumship, please put them in the comments below. If you have any requests about topics about mediumship that you want to learn about, please let me know. Just tell me what you want to know, and I will put a training together around it. I hope you guys have an amazing day, amazing rest of your week, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye.